Right now, no one knows who will win the 2022 season. The rules are being reworked so extensively that it's essentially changing the entire way the vehicle functions aerodynamically, at a time when power unit development has been frozen totally. If Formula 1 awarded points based on how strongly a team denies having a fast car, Mercedes would be well in to win the championship in 2022. It's Mercedes' great, underrated strength. More than just producing championship-winning engines, the team is a master at claiming that it's not the favourite heading into the first race. For today's video, we talk about why Mercedes F1 is in huge trouble in 2022. Do you have any idea why? If you don't, keep watching until the end of the video, and let us discover the trouble the Mercedes F1 team will face this year, 2022. It's hard for Mercedes to change its power unit because of new rules for the 2022 Formula 1 season. Mercedes engine boss Hal Thomas said that the team had made a few minor changes to the engine, but it's causing a lot of people to be frightened. The new regulations have become one of the most significant changes in F1 history regarding how cars work. The rules' goal is to make the better racing on the track. However, the rules have made many big changes to the game. One of them is switching to E10 fuel, which has 10% ethanol. A little less power is coming out of the engine because of this fuel. The teams have to make their power units as good as possible before it freezes until 2026. Mercedes Chief Technical Officer James Allison said, "All the goodness that you can possibly pack into it has to be packed into it now or forever hold your peace." Why is Mercedes' struggle different from past years? Many people have been talking about Mercedes' struggles in the past few years. This year seems different from last year, so it's not the same. During 2021 testing, the team had difficulty adjusting to small rules changes meant to keep downforce in check. These changes had a more significant impact on the German Mark's aerodynamic philosophy. It caused the car to be out of balance, but the team could fix it well enough to win 3 of the first 4 races and 3 of the first 4 poles. Every season that went by, the car begot more and more fast to win the title of the finest developer. It had real problems at the beginning of the season, but they weren't as bad as the team said. When Mercedes changed its aerodynamic package for the second half of pre-season testing, it had a hard time getting used to it. This time too, it had a hard time getting used to the new package. Progress was slow, but it could be seen. By the end of the last day, Mercedes had figured out how to use the aero kit and was ready to race. The team won the season. But this year, the rules have changed so much that the learning curve is steeper than in 2019. In 2019, there were a lot of strong signs of progress. This year, there haven't been as many. Mercedes is having a hard time in the new F1 season because the car has bounced a lot. As part of the new technical rules, the ground effects has been back in F1 for the first time in decades. You want to run your car as close to the track as possible to make downforce. If you're going fast, the Mercedes picks up downforce. This causes the ride height of the car to go down. This stops the air from moving under the car, making it rise a little. Finally, the car starts to rise, making the cycle start again. But what reasons do you think they said that Mercedes would be facing trouble this 2022? The design of Mercedes has been repetitive. Thomas, the general director of Mercedes' high-performance powertrain business, discussed how the team's earlier concept was repetitious. He stated that the team's current situation is unique. There's just so much great work, I think, done by the team, especially the way that it sits within the car. We all know how much work's gone in to get it into the car. The front of the engine is just completely different. I guess over the years, we kind of talk about the front of the engine, but almost every year we're rearranging it. But this wasn't a little rearrangement. This was a massive terror. But it's to make it look like that, isn't it? So we all understand. And with the exhausts again, I guess it's another one of those items. You kind of look at it every year and we tweak it here and we tweak it there. But what's under there is completely different. The problem with porpoising. Porpoising is at the heart of the problem. This word was a big one during pre-season. When the car is full of downforce at high speeds, it almost touches the track. At that point, the aerodynamic floor of the car stops moving. The car suddenly loses its downforce and bounces up on its suspension, at which point the floor starts making downforce again, sucking the car down to the ground. It does this repeatedly, and it keeps going like this. Porpoising can be cured by making a lot of compromises simultaneously. Because downforce is essential, you can raise the ride height or stiffen the suspension, making it harder for drivers to ride the curbs and make their wheels lock up. You can also change the floor to make it produce less downforce in the first place. Stays, which are like big staples, were used by some teams to keep the bottom from bending and creating the most downforce at speed. In Barcelona, most teams were able to deal with porpoising. No one had a new version as aggressive as Mercedes in Bahrain, so their solutions worked in the desert. Mercedes had to use its new aero kit to deal with the problem again, adding more downforce to the car. This is usually a good thing, but it wasn't working well enough. It took until the last day of testing to get rid of the worst of the porpoising, but it meant that some of the downforces were lost. Finally, it turned out that its lap times were way off, even if testing laps aren't everything. George Russell couldn't even come close to Max Verstappen's blistering last lap time. Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Chauvelin said, "We've made a bit of progress with the bouncing, which has made the cars less of a handful on the limit. It also feels like we've made a step in the right direction with setup today. There's still a lot of pace to come if we can make further gains on the bouncing and get the car more settled." So what's the outlook? There are a lot of new rules this year, and they're not as easy to understand as they were last year. This year, the problem is different and will take more time to understand. Mercedes may still find its approach to the rules is hard to learn and doesn't work well on most circuits. This will only become clear as the sport visits more different tracks. Mercedes will be a title contender this year, even if it takes a while for them to get going. Hamilton was downcast at the end of testing, but there's no reason to think they won't be a title contender. The hint is in Chauvelin's final line. There's still a lot of pace to come. The performance-enhancing downforce is present in the car. There's currently too much of it to control. The better the team understands its package, the more downforce it will be able to employ, and the faster it will become compared to Red Bull Racing. Consider well-founded suspicions all across the paddock that Mercedes was operating its engine at a low setting. The silver car was well down in the speed trap, and you may have seen one of the many speed traces circulating online that showed Mercedes maxing out on power well before the end of its straights compared to Ferrari or Red Bull Racing. Finally, remember that we're talking about Mercedes, which has won 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships despite multiple rule revisions. The team doesn't have to exaggerate its troubles to show up at the first round with a pretty swift vehicle. It's been competent enough in the past to overcome them quickly. Expect Mercedes to be in podium contention in Bahrain, and if victories are out of the question this weekend, don't rule them out sooner rather than later. So what can they do? Mercedes believes its zero side pod design machine has some underlying raw speed if they can access it. The crew could elevate the car's ride height to prevent it from bouncing, but this has performance consequences. The drivers and engineers must figure out how to get the car close to the track as possible while avoiding the impacts of bouncing. It's not a quick fix, with the team estimating it will take several races to reverse the issue. So what do you think? Will Mercedes overcome the troubles this 2022? Let us know in the comment section below.